Okay, Kat, we're live.
Okay, there we go. Hi,
Hi.
Facebook. Hi, Dan.
Hi, Kat.
How
Hello,
are you,
YouTube.
man?
Hello, Facebook. Good to see you.
You got to get your face in the screen, Dan.
There we go.
Oh, there you are. So,
all
and
right.
hi, YouTubers, hi, TikTokers. Okay, so we're live on 3 platforms. Kind of fun. You got something fun to talk about today, Dan?
I do, but I thought we could have you go first because the stuff I've got is very interesting, but
Okay.
a little dry.
A little dry. Okay. Well,
So
I don't
before
mind. I'm all ready for you guys.
Okay,
So this
I
is
thought
the
we would go
third
with
time, my third try at this. So I think we're on to something now. Well, it seems like we're connected. So hopefully my microphones are working and people can really hear us. So okay, let's just start with, well, really briefly, I want to tell you what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the statistics for 5 counties: Snohomish, King, Pierce, Skagit, and Mason counties. We're also going to talk about the growth in those counties year to date, and also from what the highs were last year versus where we're at today. And then I've got a couple topics I wanted to cover. One of them is the importance of having your sewers, the importance of a buyer having the sewer scoped prior to buying the home. So as part of your inspection process, you want to have the sewers scoped, hopefully at the same time that you're having your inspection. That's ideal. But certainly within your inspection time frame or before you make the offer if it's a multiple offer situation. So that's really important. I'll go into all the details. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is the different types of home and property updates that you can invest in that will give you the best ROI on the investment. So we'll give you the best return when you go to sell. So while you're living in your property and you're enjoying it, maybe you want to install some new modern flooring. You know how I like my modern flooring, Dan. So, and do it now. Don't wait till you go on the market, right? So that's always something I'm telling my people when they buy a home. If you're going to do updates, just go ahead and do them and then enjoy them for a while. So, okay. So let's get started. King County. King County month supply of inventory is up to 1.3. So it's been hanging at that for a couple months, or a couple of weeks, I should say. And 38% of sellers set offer review dates. 46% of sellers went under contract within the first 7 days on the market. That's a big number. It's almost half. That's a big number. 58% of sellers in King County got under contract within the first 14 days. I got to tell you, I think that's a little bit of an increase from the previous week. So King County clicking along quite nicely, I would say.
Things are remaining pretty tight, aren't they?
What's that?
Things are still remaining pretty doggone tight.
Yeah, even though we're kind of seeing an overall gradual softening in a number of the numbers or some of the numbers here, the really nicely prepared properties are selling rather quickly. So buyers are looking at competing. I don't think the competitions are like they were 6 months ago or 3 months ago. I think that there's fewer buyers competing and more sellers getting closer to asking price than being bid up very far. So I think the average price going over sales prices is less than it would be my guess. I haven't checked those numbers, but right. I do see a lot more price reductions right now. The number of price reductions is almost the same number as new listings coming on the market, which that's kind of what happened last year. So that's, it's ticking up. So it'll be interesting to see going forward what that number looks like in the next couple of weeks. So Snohomish County, their month supply of inventory keeps creeping up too. They're up to 1.1. So they hung out at 0.9 months for actually several months this year, most of the year. And now it's ticked up a little bit, with only 32% of sellers feeling confident enough to set an offer review date. So we're getting really close to that point in the market where it's, you get that people setting offer review dates down to 30-something%. And it's almost like buyers may start to skip those homes that have an offer review date set because they don't want to compete. You know, and so with the strong numbers King County has, I would still be advising some sellers to go ahead and set that offer review date, knowing that you might miss a few buyers. So Snohomish County, you know, we can look at the data here. So the data is pretty strong. So 48% of sellers in Snohomish County got under contract within the first 7 days.
Wow. That's a big number.
56% got under contract within the first 14 days. So the other two pieces of data that I wanted to talk about, and I missed those on King County, so we're going to throw those in here. So since January 2023, average sales prices in Snohomish County have risen 12%. So that number was a bit higher a couple of months ago. I think we were up to 21% over January pricing, but we're still up 12% on the year. So still a solid number. So what that number looks like at the end of the year is going to be our year-over-year appreciation, most likely. So since 2022 highs, Snohomish County has come up has dropped 13%. So we're down still from the highs, but we're making up some of that negative territory we ended up with the last half of last year. So at least we're coming up a little bit. Okay, let's jump back to King County. So King County since January 2023 is up 23%. That's a big number.
Boy, yeah,
they're still up 23%. So King County market right now is holding quite firmly, and I think it's because we're seeing a few more buyers in King County right now. You know, so since 2022 highs, they're back down. They're down 11%. So, you know, neither King or Snohomish has caught up to last year's highs yet. And I don't think we're going to see that this year unless we see a sudden drop in interest rates. And then, oh, hell's going to break loose, let's face it. So, all of a sudden, people are going to like their 6.5% interest rate. You know, they didn't want the 7%. You know?
I'll tell you what, it does make a difference if you're coming down or going up and you end up at the same spot. All of a sudden it's looking pretty good now.
Yeah, all of a sudden the 6% doesn't look so bad, you know.
That's right.
Okay, so moving on, now we've got Pierce County. I know Dan is a particular fan of Pierce County. I don't know why, but I like to humor him, you know.
Just Lakewood.
We love Pierce County. Don't get me wrong. I'm all about Gig Harbor. Love Gig Harbor. Anyway, okay, so Pierce County, month supply of inventory 1.3. That's holding steady. 20% of sellers set offer review dates. So they're actually kind of tending away from setting offer review dates. And they have been. Pierce County has been really hesitant about setting offer review dates for their sellers. 28% of sellers went under contract within the first 7 days. So they still have a fairly strong sellers market. I mean, over a quarter of sellers getting under contract within the first week is a good sign. That's still a pretty strong market. I mean, gosh, their second week is incredible. 47% of sellers in Pierce County got under contract within the first 14 days on the market. So, and that's been true. Pierce County has had a strong second week for the last couple of months. I mean, and that's been different from some of the other surrounding counties. So since January 2023, Pierce County has seen a 10% increase in the average sales price. So still a strong year for them so far.
Right.
Since the highs of 2022, they're only down 6%. So they're really close to getting back to where the highs were last year, only 6% off. So Pierce County clicking along quite nicely. Let's do Mason County. What do you think, Dan?
I think Mason County sounds good.
Yeah, I like Mason County. Great views there. You know,
great views, reasonable prices.
Belfair.
Right? Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So month supply of inventory, 1.8 months in Mason County. 23% of sellers set offer review dates. Oh, I didn't put on a jacket. What am I doing? I'm cruising through all these counties, and I'm wearing the same thing. No one's gonna look at the other ones. Hold on. Let's do. Oh, I know. Here we go. Sorry, I need to do an outfit change, guys. Now I have 3 counties in the same same outfit. Uh-oh. No one's going to watch those other 2 counties. I'm just saying. Here we go. Let's jazz it up a bit. Okay, here we go.
There we go.
All right. Oh, you got to see my microphone there. Oh. You got jostled. Here, better put him back. I'm trying to tuck him back.
There we go.
Yeah, he's still there. He's a little fuzzy guy right there. Just in case it's windy. Okay. All right. So let's do Mason County.
Okay.
So 1.8 months supply of inventory in Mason County. That is up a tad from last week. 23% of sellers set offer review dates. 21% of sellers got under contract within the first 7 days on the market, with 41% of sellers getting under contract within the first 14 days on the market. So Mason County doing fine, hanging in there. So since January, their average home sales price is up 12%. So
it's not bad at all.
Not bad at all. And since the highs of last year, 2022, they're only down 3%. So they're very near their all-time highs for sales price, average sales prices. So that's Mason County. Yeah.
What's that, Skagit?
Oh, yes, it is Skagit. And Skagit, you might be last in this lineup this afternoon, but you're not last on my list for places to go visit. I love showing homes in Skagit County because it's always a fun day. But I love cruising around Skagit County, on my days off too. There's lots of great hiking and dog trails and doggy walking trails. So Skagit County, 1.5 months supply of inventory. 31% of sellers set offer review dates. 21% of sellers got under contract within the first 7 days on the market. Okay, this number is going to blow your mind. 60% of sellers got under contract within the first 14 days. So that second week, man, I had to tell you, you guys, the first week you're on the market, don't worry about if you don't sell. The second week in Skagit County, it sure looks like you just almost got a guarantee.
Wait a minute. What was the first week again?
21% the first 7 days, and then 60% within the first 2 weeks. So again, with the numbers being lower that we're dealing with, the stats can come out kind of wild, right? So 1 week it could be 60%, the next week it could be 35, and the same with the 7 days, selling within the first 7 days on the market, same sort of thing. You could have some really sellable, normal floor plans, just modern floor plans, let's say. And they all just, everybody likes that particular floor plan. And so you get a bunch of homes that sell right away. Or the next week, you might end up with some older homes that maybe haven't had any updating. And so those might sit a while. So a couple homes could, impact the data in counties like Skagit and Mason. So we take this week by week data sort of, very lightly. We're more interested in Skagit and Mason counties for monthly data is going to be more, more relevant.
Right.
Because there'll be more data points. You need more data points to really make a meaningful, statement. So, but I'd like to report it just because I do pull the data weekly and I like to throw it out there and just let people know what is happening. Because over time, we'll look at the general trends. So, but anyway, yeah. So, and then the other 2 bits of data for Skagit County, since January, it's down 1%. And again, those average sales prices, it might look down 1% because maybe, again, the type of homes that sold this year as opposed to last year. I don't know. Yeah. So anyway, and then it's also down 1% from the high of last year. So Skagit County looks like it's pretty stable as far as that goes. Not, not going up, not going down, just cruising along at the altitude.
Right. Can't ask for much more than that. That's going pretty good, all things considered, with the way rates have gone. Not bad at all.
Yeah. I mean, stability is really what you want anyway in a market. Okay, we're going to go get a little wild here. We're going to go with, well, gosh, I'm not sure. Should I do purple or green?
Purple.
Okay, good. That's what I got in my hand. Here we go. I don't know what this purple is going to look like with this, don't know what you call this, like a what do you call this color? A mustardy, dirty mustard. Anyway,
Yeah, it's like the
there you
old.
go.
It's like the old. Who was it? Colonel Mustard. That's what his name was. Colonel Mustard and Professor Plum. You're Colonel Mustard and Professor Plum in one outfit, right?
That's right. Don't you forget it, guys, either.
Sorry.
Okay. All right. So we have more things to discuss. Let's see here. I have two more big.
Cleaning the sewer lines or something like that.
You know what? I wanted to make sure that we did this one together, Dan, because I know how much you love potty talk.
That's right.
So this is the perfect potty talk example that I have, since the potty house story. There was that one a few weeks ago. And that one almost went viral on TikTok, by the way. So that was kind of funny. I got over 5,000 views on that one.
Oh my goodness. I am kind of a sucker also for rats and mold stories also, just for the future reference. I
got to tell you, so this happened to me today, Dan, and this is a true story. The guys were on my roof. They're taking the siding off my south side of my roof, or south side of my house upstairs, right? Because it gets all the, gets beat up from the sun and the rain and the weather and what have you. And so there were some pieces up there that were deteriorating. And so they convinced me that I should spend $6,400 having my siding replaced and having them reface my side with plywood, because back in the early 80s, no, we don't need plywood on the outside of the house. Let's just slap the siding right over the 2x4s. God. What were they doing in the 80s? I don't know. So anyway, I'm going to have plywood on one side of me on my upstairs. So what did they find? So I go over there with my camera because they called me over to talk to me. And I got a couple of guys on the roof up there, and they've got couple pieces of the plywood, the OSB up there. And I said, hey, how's it going? He's like, oh, Jose goes, you got a big rat. I was like, what? He's like, oh yeah, no, you got a big rat. He's dead in your attic. I was like, oh, I said, well, go get him. He's like, no. I said, finders, keepers, losers, weepers. And I am a good loser. You win. Go get the rat. And he said, no. Imagine that. Imagine my frustration. He's like, it's all the way in the middle of the house, Kat. I was like, oh my God. Anyway, you wonder how the critters get in? It's because no one bothered to put plywood under the siding. They built the roof like that too originally. They just put the shakes on little skinny boards. Oh my God. Well, at least now I have my roof is now sheeted, and one side of my upstairs is sheeted.
I
Guys,
think the 1980s
house, ask the inspector if there's anything under the siding. Oh my gosh.
I think the comments from 1985 was, they won't know any better until 2023.
I got to tell you, the rats, they like those early 1980s houses a lot. Like I'm not even joking. You have no idea what I go through. I feel like I'm in a daily battle with the rodent situation. Gonna have to get the professionals out here again, Dan.
That's right.
Anyway, that's my rodent story for the day. A little too close to home, if you must know.
Yeah.
Hi, TikTokers. You like my rodent story? Oh my God. I can't. Okay, so we're gonna talk more potty talk. Today, we're gonna talk, why should a buyer have a sewer scope inspection in addition to a home inspection when they buy a home?
This is sort of like the colonoscopes of the housing market. Would that be correct? Never mind. It was
coloscopy? Like a coloscopy?
Like a colostomy.
Oh my God, that's a terrible. That's a terrible comparison. Oh, I don't know if you guys have ever had a colonoscopy.
Oh, sorry, but I should.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. You tell me. See what happens when I mention topics to Dan. You see what happens, right? You guys get it?
Yeah, it's an affliction.
Colonoscopy.
Sorry about that. Let's move on.
You mean because of the little camera on the end of the little thing that they shoved down the little canal?
I don't know what got me thinking sewers, and I don't know what was. Anyway, it came
Sewers,
over.
intestines, all the same, guys.
I don't know. Sorry
Yeah,
about that.
I'm starting to sweat over here. Now I'm getting nervous.
Oh, why? Well, why did these things come out of my mouth? I do
I don't
not know
know.
why.
I know, Dan. You're
I,
going to
I
get us
think.
kicked off TikTok.
I think.
Mentioning colonoscopies in relation to sewer scoping. Oh, you guys take that out of your head. Don't even. Oh my God. That's not going in a video, by the way. So you guys listening live, you got it, here first.
You got one shot at it. This is it.
So, okay, I want to get into the sewer scoping. So it's going to run you $250 to $500 to get the home that you're buying sewer scoped. But I will tell you that a lot of inspectors that I've used recently are capable of doing the sewer scope when you have the inspection. So it's a good thing to know, because then before you schedule your inspection, you can ask the inspector, do you do sewer scopes as well? Right. So, and really, what homes do you want to have sewer scoped? Because if you're buying new construction, probably not necessary, right? And something 10 to 20 years old, there's probably not a lot of old growth trees left in the neighborhood. And so, because what you're really worried about is root intrusion. And I'll go through all the things in a minute, but but the homes that are in a heavily treed area, 100% you need to have that sewer scoped. And if the house is over 25 years old, just generally speaking, it's a really good idea, because there can be a number of things that can go wrong. And I'm going to go through that list right now. So number one, they're looking for, the sewer scope inspector is looking for clogged lines. So they want to make sure that the waste is moving through the line properly. So that's one thing. Number two, the sewer scope inspector is going to be looking at the condition of the sewer pipe to the street connection. So a lot of times the sewer line comes from either the middle of the street or somewhere in the street there, and you're usually responsible for the section that goes from your house to the main line connection. Number three, root intrusion is a huge problem in Washington State, because we live in a very treed area. Mm-hmm. So it's not every house, not half the homes, but a good percentage of the homes, if you have the sewer scoped in Washington State, are going to have some type of root intrusion. It's very, very common. The solution for root intrusion is oftentimes high pressure water streams to route out the roots from the sewer pipe, and then followed up with lining those sewer lines with a liner. So that's how you would potentially address that. So theoretically, if you line it with a liner, then the sewage will stop leaking, out of the pipe, and it won't draw attention to more new roots. That's the theory. That's the working theory. So we'll see years from now if that actually is effective or not.
Hey,
so it's fairly inexpensive.
Quick question for you, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but the root intrusion, let's say you get the root intrusion, and if you wanted to put in new pipes and all that kind of stuff, so it was all nice and new and all that kind of stuff for the new buyers, is that something you could put onto that? You had some special program over at Windermere that you could do all these home improvements to make your house ready, and then
so the Windermere Ready program, if you're a seller,
Windermere Ready, yes.
If you're a seller and you decide, and I always recommend that my sellers have the sewer scoped if it's an older home. So, or again, they are in a treed area. And so if the seller does do the sewer scope and wants to provide that to the buyer along with the inspection, and the really smart agents and brokers in Washington State do that. They encourage their sellers to have that information available for buyers. It gives the seller peace of mind that there's nothing wrong with their home that's going to scare away a buyer. So it's really valuable information for peace of mind for a seller. It's also peace of mind to a buyer to have that information available. So if you as a seller, you do go ahead and have the sewer line scoped, and you find out that there are some issues like root intrusion, or the pipe is offset at a junction, then you are in control of which contractor you call, and can set up an evaluation and then determine if you want to hire them to solve solve that particular situation with the sewer line. It keeps you in control of the process. So anytime I've got a seller that's got a home that's over 20, 25 years old, I'm always going to recommend they have a sewer scope, and we provide that to the buyer. And if for some reason some work needs to be done, you get to control that process, and then we can provide that that solution that was completed, you know, the receipt for the completed repairs on the sewer line to that new buyer. And the follow-up sewer scope showing that it's been done.
Right.
That the repairs have been made.
Right.
So yeah, super important. Actually, people don't think about it. You know, insurance companies, the homeowner's insurance does not cover anything related to your sewer line issues because they consider it maintenance. So you can't get that covered. So you're on the hook for it. So if you buy a house from a seller where the sewer line, there's something going on with the sewer line, you're going to be responsible yourself for paying for that. The insurance company is not likely going to kick in. The insurance companies are more for sudden and accidental, incidents, especially when it comes to water type claims. So the other thing that getting all tongue tied here. The other thing that sewer scope inspectors are looking for is a concept known as bellying. And bellying is when the sewer line sags. And so when you have a low point in a line, it can obstruct the flow of the waste going to the street. So I actually had that come up with a multifamily that I just sold. And my buyer was just so easygoing. He's like, this is easy pipe. It's like PVC piping in. And he's like, I can do this all day long. He's like, this is not a problem. So I'm like, okay. I mean, it was still flowing, but it was brought up by the sewer scoper that could be an issue. So bellying, separation. There's also potential issues with the joints. So separation or failure of the line. So sometimes over time, especially with some of the older piping, concrete, the cast iron, clay, you could get some separation at the joints. So just from settling over time. And if it's too bad, then they'll have to dig it up and actually replace sections. And I got to tell you guys, I know of flippers that have run into this on flips, and it's cost them $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. And it's actually just destroyed their budget. I mean, you know, that house no longer was a moneymaker. So it's a big surprise when it happens. So sewer scoping is really, really important, because if you don't do it and your sewer seems to function while you're there and the next buyer decides to have it scoped, better hope it's clean. Yeah. Better hope it's clean. So that other thing I just mentioned was the type of materials used. So, you know, cast iron, PVC, concrete, clay, could be any number of types of piping under there. Once we determine the type of material that's been used for the sewage piping, the inspector will be able to let you know what the potential future problems could be. So what to watch out for. So interesting. It's an interesting topic. I think all buyers should be investing in a sewer scope. I think it's one of the things that gets kind of put off on the back burner. Maybe they just don't do because they're already paying for an inspection, but sewer scoping is really important.
Well, really you've mentioned this before. It's sort of a good phrase, staying in control of the process.
Yep.
And if you're doing all these things correctly, you can address everything right up front. And it seems like it's a lot simpler to address things up front than to allow them to linger and come up on the back end.
Yeah. No, I mean, as a seller, you want to stay in control of the whole process. And, you know, if you eliminate just about anything that would bother a buyer or cause them concern, then the next person that walks through your house where it ticks the boxes for that particular buyer, there's a good chance they'll write an offer on it, especially after they've seen the inspection report and the sewer scope report. So people can feel very comfortable then. So if they like a house, then the worry has been taken off their shoulders. So, you know, it's important as a seller to stay in control. And I think that's the thing that gets lost. I have a seller right now that I've been working with, and they've got a nice little Rambler they're going to be selling in South Everett. And they're giving me a lot of pushback about, having an inspection, about having it staged, getting it properly prepared for market. And I get it. It was the, family member's home, and it's a lot of work to get a house ready for market,
Right.
especially if you do it right. So there are those times when, as a real estate professional, you might not be able to get that seller to do all the things that they should do to get the most money for the property. And in some cases, I think that's appropriate.
Right.
I think in this case, I wouldn't want to lean on them to jump through hoops for a couple of months getting things ready. I think they probably going to sell it as is. They'll take a bath, it'll sell for $100,000 to $200,000 less than it would if it was all put together. But somebody would have to be there doing those things, right? So getting it painted, and I'm happy to be the go-between. I mean, I'll meet painters, I'll get you bids, that's what I do. I make it easy. I try to make it as easy as I can. But when people haven't worked with me before, they don't know how easy I can make the process. And you don't actually even have to be at the house. I've dealt with out-of-state buyers where I do everything. I meet the cleaners, the window washers, make sure they get paid. And I don't mind doing that. But I think the resistance comes from people that haven't been through a transaction with you, especially as a seller. They don't realize how easy you can make the process.
Right.
Especially if they don't live there.
Well,
because if they live there, then we have different expectations of you sellers. Right? But if you don't live there and you're out of state or something, I will jump in and I'll do everything. So, that's just how we roll. That's how I roll. Make it happen.
That's right. Just whatever it takes to make things happen.
To keep my sellers happy. I like to prove my value. I have a whole list of service providers that make my life just so darn easy when it comes to getting a hold of people and getting work done that needs to be done, whether it's plumbing or, roofing, whatever it is, so clean windows. I know you like it when I mention the sparkle factor, Dan.
Sparkle clean windows. Yes.
I always say that's the sparkle factor.
That's right.
Clean and windows, also, you gotta have clean windows.
I heard a rumor also that you're supposed to turn on all the lights everywhere around, like in the house, outside.
Well, when you're showing, so that's another whole topic. But so when you're showing your house, so let's say you're living there. Let me get this microphone back here a little bit. So when you're living in the home and you're scheduling showings around when when you can be out of the house, there's a couple of things you want to do, right? So you want to go around, you want to make sure all the lights are on for the agent. You want to make sure that the countertops have been cleared off and, everything's put away in the bathroom. All your personal items have been put away in the bathroom, shampoos and washcloths and, toothbrushes, and leave the toilet paper, please. In case my client needs to use the restroom. But you want to pick up any towels, used towels, and make sure that you put the pet kennels and beds maybe in the garage or in a closet. Just getting, making sure everything looks nice and neat and tidy. Pillows are on the sofa attractively, and the throws are in the right place on the sofa. Just all the little last minute details that make a house feel very welcoming to a buyer. And, and the last thing you'd want to make sure is that leave the house, guys. Don't stay in the garage. Don't stay in the house. Leave. The most important part is please leave. So, because you want the buyer to have, be able to talk freely with their agent and, and just, and with their partner or their family members, so they, so that they can actually fully just focus on taking in your home and how it would work for them. You don't want them worried about running into you. Anyway.
Oh God.
So there's that. Now I'm smacking again because I'm cotton mouth over here.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna grab another jacket.
Sure.
My lipstick's all mucking up. All right, let's see. What should I put on now? Oh, let's see what this green one looks like. I don't know about green and, this kind of auburn color.
Well, we'll see.
This could be funny.
Hi, it looks good.
Tuesday. Hi.
No, it looks
Oh, is
good.
that all right?
Yeah, actually looks real good.
I do love this jacket.
Yeah. Oh, it's kind. It's a like an olive green, so it's a little bit muted, and it kind of goes well with the kind of a rust color top that you got on.
Yeah. Well, good.
It goes together well.
I'm glad Dan approves.
Yes.
All right.
That should rock the YouTube world right there. So yes, go ahead.
That's exactly what I need to do. Is I want to rock the YouTube world. I really do. You can quote me on that, Dan. So, did we talk about? I don't think we did. Inspiring home investment ideas. So things that updates that you can do to your home that will give you the best ROI on your investment. Have we talked about that in the past?
I think we have touched on it, but I think you wanted to.
I have a list. I have a good list.
I had a hunch.
Yeah. So I worked on putting together a list for this topic because I like it a lot.
Right.
Actually. So the first one on my list is curb appeal enhancement. So you could refresh your exterior paint. You could upgrade the landscaping with well-maintained plants and flowers and fresh bark. You could repair or replace a worn-out roof. So if the roof is 15, 20 years old and it's a 30-year comp, then it's going to need replacing. In Western Washington, we have water. It rains all the time. So
occasionally, yes.
Roofs don't last as long as they do at other places in this country. So you can also install outdoor lighting to highlight special features in the yard, which is kind of fun. My very favorite of curb appeal enhancements is replacing or painting the front door and also replacing the hardware. So that can create a whole new modern feel for, your entrance to your property, to your home. So I like those a lot. Having the door painted, I think that's just such a huge impact, and getting new hardware on it, new modern hardware, it just makes all the difference. I noticed it when I show houses and they've got the new modern hardware on doors. I love it. I just love it.
What is the new modern hardware? When you say new modern hardware, what does that mean?
Well, a lot of times the black handles, and there's kind of more angular, like squared off instead of the oval, the 90s oval gold. Now it's a black, and usually it's kind of a squared. The whole thing has got right angles. So, and with the handle, right? The full handle with the push button on the top of the handle. So it's a nice big, tall handle instead of just your little knob, right? Or a lever. So replacing that and making it something a little bit more formal can really add a really nice, classy touch to a front door.
How much does that cost?
A great way to update it. A couple $100 for a door handle.
Wow, that's not much.
No, not at all. And if you're going to replace the whole door, depends on, the grade of door that you're replacing. Mm-hmm. But, a couple $1,000s, and that includes installation in most places, in most cases, unless you get pretty fancy. So it might cost you upwards of $3,000 or $4,000 if you've got something a little bit more unusual that you're trying to accomplish.
But that's a real attention getter, it seems to me.
Yeah, it is.
And you could put that on what was that program again that you have over at Windermere?
Yeah. It's one of my favorite things, and nobody uses it. I don't know why. The Windermere Ready program. So it's up to $100,000 available for home sellers to help update their homes before they go on the market. So let's say you've done some of these minor updates that I'm talking about, but you're ready to go on the market and you never got to the flooring, and you've got stained carpet or carpet that's really no longer serviceable. You could borrow the money from the Windermere Ready program, which basically just it allows you to utilize the equity in your home. You don't have to have pay stubs. You don't have to be working. It's literally based on the equity in your home. It really is a very cool tool for sellers to use to do some updates that might be necessary. So if the house needs a new roof, you probably should just put a new roof on it and not expect the buyer to be able to come up with cash or come up with some sort of a plan to be able to replace that roof. A lot of buyers get into homes without a lot of extra cash laying around because they're putting it all in the down payment, right?
That's
so
right.
sellers sometimes, if you think, then, if you think it through and you think, who's your buyer going to be? Is it going to be somebody that's working class? Not somebody with a cash coming along, then you're going to want to take care of some of the more bigger ticket items that are on, for your property.
Right.
Before you put it on the market, so buyers don't have to worry about those things. So
Well,
if you've got so the only time I really would tell somebody to replace all the windows is if they have like single pane, because that's going to impact a person's heating bills. It's going to turn off a lot of buyers. If you have double pane windows, you have to make sure that the seals have not failed. And if some seals have failed, you replace those panes. Those panes are not that expensive. Those double panes, you just replace the two panes together, right? So it's one unit. And usually it's between $300 and $600 per pane to have those replaced. So it's just for the aluminum windows, even for the vinyl windows. So it's just not that big of an expense. Usually people may have 3 to 5 panes that are failed in their home and can get it taken care of for $2,000 to $3,000. So not a huge expense, but makes all the difference when it comes to selling, because people are going to notice that on the high definition videography and photos. So it's a good idea to fix that stuff, because the windows and the window sparkle is, again, that sparkle factor, right? Clean windows add that sparkle factor to the room, aside from lighting. So, okay, so another one. So we have curb appeal enhancements that are good to invest in for updating your home, but also fresh interior paint can make a big, even if you're keeping it the same color, just if you haven't painted in 10 or 20 years, it can make a huge difference. It just makes everything feel clean and new again. So number 3, kitchen upgrades. So refacing or painting cabinets, putting on new countertops like quartz is a nice update. Also, the modern handles and pulls, that can make a huge difference on what a kitchen looks like. So you can also upgrade the appliances. I just saw some matte black appliances in a flip down in Burien a couple days ago. Is that house down there by SeaTac? Gorgeous. Oh my gosh. The matte flat black appliances were just beautiful.
I've got another quick question that came up. I'm sorry I'm interrupting you. I'm sorry, Kath.
No, you're fine.
Has your opinion changed at all on plastic cabinets?
No. I can't do plastic cabinets, Dan. That makes me crazy.
Sorry. I had to ask. Sorry.
The whole plastic cabinet thing. Oh, if a house has plastic cabinets, even if it's lower end, I have a hard time with that, because it's hard to modernize those. It's hard to feel good about that. If you have a plywood base for the cabinets, then you can replace the doors if they're just plastic doors or unattractive. You want to go with a different style. You want to change to Craftsman instead of, more traditional oak. And so you can do that if you have a good base. I don't mind older cabinets that are sturdy, but you get into some of the veneer over particle board cabinets, and they fall apart over time.
That could be a problem.
Yeah. So I do like to make sure that a house my client is buying has decent cabinets. They don't have to be brand new. They don't have to.
So sorry about that. I kind of wandered off the reservation.
You did wander a little bit there, Dan. That's okay.
Yes, I did.
Okay. 4. So bathroom improvements, right? So lighting, reglazing or replacing worn out tubs. I've had bathrooms reglazed in my career with clients and with sellers, and it's turned out really quite nicely. I think you have to be more careful with what products you use for cleaning. but reglazing tubs and showers is something that does work, and it looks amazing when it's done. It makes it look all fresh and new. So the other thing is replacing faucets and shower heads with a more modern design, or sinks and cabinets. So bathrooms are relatively small spaces. You can make some pretty major changes for very little money. So as long as you don't have to replace the tub or the shower, it's not going to cost you a lot of money to update a bathroom. And the same with the kitchen. Updating the lighting in the family room, in the kitchen, and throughout the home makes a huge difference. So, and installing new mirrors and new vanity in the bathroom can create a whole different feel. I've noticed that a lot of people are using the round mirrors with like a antique brass kind of trim, and that's kind of trending, or a wood trim, and it's just so attractive. It just makes the bathroom look more modern. So I like it.
These are all the things that you can do that don't cost a ton of money, but at the same time, you really can tell the difference once they're upgraded. You look a lot more modern, I would imagine.
That's right. Yes. Yep. And we're getting this heavy jacket off. We're gonna do a different one, Dan. We're gonna do it halfway through the stream here because getting hot. Not that it's hot over here, guys. I dare say it might be 68 or 69.
Oh my goodness.
But you know how I melt.
Yes.
Yes, like
anytime we get close to 70.
Yeah. Well, and then the other day it was like 55. And I was uncomfortable in the other extreme. So, I'm telling you guys, if you guys know a place where I could go and live where it's essentially, let's say, I'll be generous with my range temperature. I'd say
58 to 64,
60 to 68. I think I can do that. So if you can find me that location that's that temperature all year round, I'm going there. You'll lose me as your realtor. Because I'm headed wherever that is. Have heat intolerance, and I don't like to be cold. So, dang it. Girl likes her nice ambient temperature to be comfortable. Not too hot.
Not too hot, not too cold.
That's right. Okay.
Perfect. Okay.
We got a couple more. Darn lipstick. It's good lipstick, but after a couple hours, it gets annoying. All right.
Okay.
Sorry for all my live peeps on TikTok. Sorry, you guys complaining about my lipstick. Anyway, thanks for joining, you guys. All right. And Facebook and YouTube, I'm not leaving you guys out either. Okay. All right. So what do we got next? Let's see. So other ways to update your home and property for a reasonably good return on your investment. So flooring, we already mentioned this once, but redoing your flooring. So with the modern flooring, which is, as we know, it's the wood planking still.
Hey, I've got modern flooring in my place, right?
Yes, you do.
Modern, right?
You sent me a picture, and I have confirmed that Dan does have modern flooring.
Flooring.
Do I. Yes, I have the Bruce Hydropel, which is theoretically waterproof, and I've tested that several times. I had a husky that had a little bit of incontinence issues, and it proved to be true that it was actually waterproof, thankfully. Rest in peace, Bella.
Oh, Bella. Bella.
My baby. Yes. Okay. So that's flooring. So, and we already mentioned this a little bit too, but, updating your lighting. So the lighting throughout the home. So the biggest ones that make the most impact is the entry, the kitchen, and the family room. So, and hallways, right? And bathrooms. It's nice if you can do all of it, but if you just do those few chandeliers in those main areas, it just changes the flavor when you walk in. I had a listing down in Renton not long ago, and I asked the seller, it was an estate sale, and I asked the seller if it would be okay if I changed out a few of the light fixtures to something more modern, because we were spending money on staging and interior paint. And so he's put a fair amount of money into the place to get it ready for the market. He was very smart about how he did that. And he was rewarded in the end with a very nice buyer. So, but one of one of the things that we did was really super important was we replaced the dining room chandelier. And I think that chandelier only ran $350, something like that. And then I also replaced, there was 2 entry chandeliers. I replaced those, and then 1 hallway light fixture as well. And those were all kind of made, to look similar. They were all sort of off the same product line. So it looked consistent, I guess. We didn't replace the lighting in the kitchen, but just those main areas, and it made a huge difference. So the other thing we did in that particular listing, which I also recommend, I don't have it in my list here. It's going to give you another little tidbit. One of the things you can do to actually change that look of your home is replace your receptacles, your plugs and your receptacles. And, to the modern, white, if you have white in your home or you have white walls, changing those all from kind of that amber color to the bright white. Oh my gosh. If you have white in your home, that makes all the difference. So some people end up with like different colored receptacles and plugs and switches, and it can date a home. But if you change all those out to white, I have an electrician that I've been using, and he's my neighbor. He was retired. So I would turn him on to my houses and say, hey, would you mind, going down to rent and changing all those out? And I don't want to say how well, I did. I paid for that. because the seller was doing everything right. So I think Dennis charged me like $1,200 to change everything out in that rented house. And then I went ahead and we did it again up in Granite Falls. And it was just because both houses were blown out white. It was just the perfect thing to finish off that work. So it was a very small investment because the parts themselves were in the hundreds of dollars, like $300, $400, $500, right? It was the installation that ran me a little bit of money. But you can, a lot of people would choose to do that themselves, or could if they wanted to or felt competent enough, because you have to know a little bit about electrical to do that. But anyway, so that's another trick, and it's a little tedious, right? It takes a little bit of time, but it sure does. It just ties everything together so nicely if you have white in your home. So another thing, it's really nice when you're living in a home, if you just take the time to get all the little repairs taken care of. So the leaky faucet upstairs, all the light that went out in the refrigerator, just all the little things that, the dripping faucet outside, all the little things that make life just a little more challenging on a day-to-day basis. The toilet that runs that you think is never going to be a problem until it is. That comes from personal experience. Could be why my flooring got replaced a couple of years ago. My insurance company never found out about that one because you can't have a couple water claims in your lifetime. You just got to suck that up and you got to take care of them. Otherwise they drop you, right? Insurance companies, they can drop you. So, sometimes you just got to swallow the, and just go, I'm just doing this update for me. Even though you have a motivation. So yeah, like cracked tiles, chipped paint, or other visible imperfections. Fun to just take care of those. So you're living in a house that feels more complete, right? Because I know when I'm in my house, I look around and all I see are things that need fixing or need doing, repairs and, projects that maybe haven't been completed. And I think everybody does that. And so to take some time and actually just handle those things, I think that would give somebody a lot of satisfaction, and add to their everyday enjoyment of their home. So
have you ever had a customer that like they took care of everything and they looked around and said, this looks like a whole new home. I think I'd like to stay.
Actually, I have.
No, you have? I
have several times. Yep. And interestingly enough, they loved it so much. Like there were several clients that actually said that, actually those very same words. And I got to agree that the place looked just so much better, and they loved it even staged. Like the number of clients that actually said, oh my God, I like the house so much better. I almost wish I could stay. So you know, it's interesting when you get rid of the clutter, what that does for a space, you know, and you fix everything. You get all those little things fixed because you do that when you're getting ready for the market, right? The garbage disposal hasn't worked in 3 years. You know, you fix that shit. So, you know, the lights that haven't been, you know, you live with like, you know, light bulbs out. You know, you haven't had a light bulb in your closet, you know, for 3 months. You know, it's annoying, but you don't do anything about it because you're busy living your life and working. So sometimes I forget those things too, and it is really, it's like, just handle them, take care of them. So I have some light bulbs out on my porch right now. I know they're out. I bought the bulbs. I've got a pack of 6 sitting on my counter, and it's been sitting there for about 2 weeks. So I'm with you guys. So the last thing, oh no, 2 more things. Okay. This is a big one. This is where you actually get real, your house is actually worth more money, 100% for sure, if you do this next one. Basement and attic transformations. I had a client in Everett a number of years ago. This has been some time back, but he had a daylight rambler essentially. So you walk in on the main floor. He had one bedroom because he combined the 2 bedrooms into one big bedroom. Don't do that. Uh-oh, my battery's low. Oh, I got to run get a cord. Ah, shoot. Okay, I'll be right back, Dan.
Okay.
All right, I'm back. All right. Oh my God, I'm gonna get this thing plugged in for it. It shuts off right away. All right. All right. We still here? Everybody still here? Okay, good.
We're all still here.
So, okay. So back to that story, my client in Everett. So he combined 2 bedrooms into one, which is a bad thing. But he also had a basement area. So, but he had views too. That was the thing. Out the front of his house, it was an old house in Everett, but it had a cute little layout. He had 1-car garage, but downstairs there was this whole room, and the walls were paneled, and the ceiling had those ceiling tiles. So, you know, not fancy, right? No fancy schmancy there, but it was concrete floors. And I was like, you know, find out, you know, what you need to do to this concrete, throw some carpet down, carpet and padding, you know, and call it good. We did. And, you know, we tacked that square footage on, and buyer was happy as a clam. They actually, this is interesting. They did a $25,000 second note. So due and payable, I think they did it in 5 years. So they paid full price, and then they added that note, that $25,000 note, and he got paid 5 years later. He told me. So,
oh wow!
So, and it was a situation with 2 offers, and that was way back. I don't know, 2011. No, 2006. I don't know. That's a long time ago.
Oh, this does go back a ways. Yeah.
That does go through. So I'm dating myself. Yeah. So I've been doing this, you guys, since 1999, if you must know. So, I have stories from the decades. So that's a big one though, because it's not just basement spaces, and you have to make sure that the basement is dry and it doesn't flood and you don't have water intrusion somewhere. I mean, I'm not suggesting anybody start throwing carpet down on concrete and start calling it living space. That's not what I'm saying at all, because that downstairs area has to be perfectly habitable and not have water intrusion.
Right.
And a lot of basements do have water intrusion, so that's something to be aware of, and you should contact a specialist about sealing off the concrete, so to make sure that you don't wind up with moisture underneath the carpet, because you wouldn't, or the modern hardwood flooring.
Right.
You know, you wouldn't want that to be an issue for the buyer down the road. So you have to make sure that what you're doing is appropriate.
Well,
but
I'm just guessing, but wouldn't it be more of an issue like the closer you get to the water, to Puget Sound, and Maybe not. I don't know. But I was thinking maybe
No,
if it's over in Everett or Edmonds or something like that, might be more of an issue, but probably maybe not.
no, it's how the house sits to the land and where the water table is.
Okay.
So, I'm on the side of a hill. I don't recommend being on the side of a hill, but I'm never going to have I'm never going to be flooded. Let's put it that way.
Right.
I got a valley below me. So, but I do get water in my crawl space on occasion, but it's not a basement. And it's just because there's so many springs in this darn hill. There's just a ton of springs. So, but in a lot of areas, water table can be 8 inches, a foot below ground level. And I know my daughter had a house over in Jefferson Beach Estates over there in Kingston, and they had water just below the surface. Like you would dig down 6 inches and there was water. That's how high the water table was. So they had to put in additional drainage around the perimeter of their house after they purchased it and put in a sump pump. And so that's how they handled the higher water table in their area. And that also makes for putting in a septic, makes it very difficult. So they actually have a special type of septic over there. They've since sold the house, but no one could build on that house. No one can add to that house without getting permission from the county because it has a special septic system. I don't think that the county would ever allow any kind of additions to it. So you have to watch out for that as well. We should talk about septic systems coming up here, Dan. I know you love potty talk, and and I can get the goods on septic systems. I mean, I know far too much about them. I have one.
I've just been waiting for you to open the door to that subject, Kat. I've just been waiting.
I know you love that potty talk, Dan.
Yes, that's right. That's right, Kat.
So I have one more. So, in addition to the basement area, there's also the attic space. I have some pretty nice attic space actually over my second floor, even though I have 9-foot ceilings on my second floor. There's in the center of my attic, you can stand up. So it wouldn't be 8-foot ceilings up there, but I could make, a nice little, I could have a nice space up there with a couple of windows on each end. And it would be kind of cool. The trick is getting stairs up there, right? Because, if you're like me, climbing those pull down, you could do the pull down stairs.
Right.
You could do that.
You could do that.
Do that. I have that in my Rambler, actually. I pull down stairs to access the attic. And those are not bad. You
put a little paint up there and make it nice and
homey. Sheetrock it, finish it off, get yourself some insulation in the on the roof up there, and sheetrock the ceiling, and it could be a cute little space. And honestly, it's just not that much money to finish that off. It's not going to really add to your square footage if you don't have a conventional way to access it. So if you're doing a drop down ladder, I don't think we can call that living area. Just saying.
Let me stretching the definition.
You could advertise storage space in the attic, finished storage space in the attic.
Right.
Because you're not supposed to store things in the attic if it's not finished with sheetrock. You're not. You don't put things because that's a fire hazard.
Right. Yeah.
So, all right. Moving on. So we have one more. This is number 9, and that's with my and then I gave you the gratuitous upgrade of replacing plugs and switches. So number 9, this is one of my favorite too. So outdoor living spaces. So you can upgrade your deck, maybe make it bigger, put in new decking, but you could, if you enlarge it, you could add a cover to a portion of your deck. A cozy outdoor seating area, or extend your, there's just a lot of things you could do in the Pacific Northwest. We only really have, 3 months of summer, but we love our decks. We love our outdoor living. So it's really nice. Buyers really like a place to hang out outdoors that's covered. So whether you're covering a portion of your patio or deck, or you have a porch, buyers do like, because they like to be able to barbecue. I don't know what it is about barbecuing in the Pacific Northwest, but it's a thing. I barbecue almost year round. So,
yeah, me too.
Yeah,
me too.
It just makes for less dishes, and I know how to do it to make my food taste good. So,
Well,
Anyway,
it's just
so
it's just easier to clean up than if you have to do the whole
yeah,
cleanup in the kitchen and all that stuff. Yeah,
for sure.
it's
And
just a
it's
lot
easy
easier.
just to cook for one person or two people on a barbecue, as
Yeah,
opposed to getting a pan out, and
yeah,
don't do that.
exactly.
Just barbecue.
Yeah, just barbecue.
Anyway, so I think that's all I got today, Dan. It's like, I think, oh, you know what? So I brought a graph. Okay. So
Okay.
this is the monthly house price index for the whole US from January 1991 to the present. I want you to take a look at this. I don't know if can you see it? Look at up
It's
here.
going.
This
It's
is
going
us
up.
here. Yeah, so this
Yeah.
is where we are over here, and this is where we started down here. And that's over a period of what, 30, 32, 33 years, something like that. So
Uh-huh.
I want you to notice the general trend. It's always
Uh,
going up. So it's, that's kind of a big deal to realize when you're purchasing real estate, that you're probably not going to get another like this where it goes down for a couple of years. So we
Right.
get those maybe occasionally, but overall the trend is up. So waiting to purchase is not necessarily a great strategy if you think you're actually going to pay less for the house. As historically, we have a shortage of housing. We always have, for the most part, until we had that banking crisis, which crashed, all those loans that were not really above board. We were loaning on 103% of, the value of the home. So we had people that would, that's a recipe for disaster. People were qualifying that shouldn't qualify. So they had loosened up the lending standards to the point where people were buying homes that really shouldn't and really couldn't afford them. And so then of course we had people starting to default, which created, mass hysteria essentially. so
Well,
the market did go down for a bit.
yes, it did. I remember that period very, very well. Kind of a little painful
yes,
memory.
that's kind of PTSD from that.
There we go.
Little PTSD.
Well, I'll tell you what. In the next I think I can get this done in 2 minutes, real quick.
Really?
Yes,
really?
I think I can. I'm going to
go
through
I know
this.
You can be long-winded. I mean, do you think I was long-winded, wasn't I? What time is it?
No, we're doing good
it's
on
almost
time.
4 o'clock.
Yeah,
oh God, when do we start?
Good.
Do we start at 2:30?
Yeah, we're an hour and 7 minutes into it right now.
Oh, that's not too bad. You only had to
bad.
listen to me for an hour and 7 minutes, guys. You should be good.
So,
Dan and I, we cut this up into little videos to use all week. So, there's a purpose behind this madness. But we're hoping that you guys like us and that you'll follow us. We're hoping that. Please. Begging for hearts. I gotta tell you, I don't really, I see my daughter online. She's getting hearts. When she goes live.
Hearts?
I don't get hearts when I go live. What is the problem here?
I don't know. Me. I think I'm the problem. Okay. So we talked a little bit about this, and I'm gonna try and get through this here real quick. So let me see if let's see where we are at.
Wet my whistle.
Okay, hang on here.
Hi, Mr. Fat Tuesday. Do you want to come up here and get online here with Mom? Let's get Boy up here. Here we go.
Okay, there we go. Okay, we're working.
There we go.
So, there we go. And let's see, how am I going to get this all? Slides. Okay. So, we had the Bureau of Labor Statistics that came out today, right? The BLS report. Let me put that up there. So, the reason I'm mentioning all this stuff is that it does look like we have some economic items coming together in sort of converging on each other, and to slow down the economy. So a few of the things that came up today's jobs report, we had 187,000 jobs added. That's okay, but if you take a look at the revisions that we've had, we lost 110,000 jobs over the last 2 months. So that's a pretty big. So we almost lost as many jobs as we added today, right? Okay. So it's pretty clear things are slowing down. June was revised lower from 185,000 down to 105. July was revised from 187 to 157. And so when you run the numbers, what really looks like is happening, and I took a few notes. There's an economist, her name is Daniel DiMartino Booth, had an interview over the weekend. It was very interesting. And she mentioned three things that are coming together. And that was the student loan payments are ending in October. And 45 to 60% of those surveyed have absolutely no intention of restarting their student loan payments, right?
What?
So that's,
For 45
yeah,
to how many?
45 to 60%
Have no
of
intention
those
of starting to pay their loan payments on their student loans?
have no intention to restart their loan payments. They're disregarding it because they can't afford it. That's a big number. So it's not a big number the first month because you go 30 days late. Okay, no big deal. Then you go 60 days late. Then you go 90 days late. And then you
Wow.
got problems. And it's not just the
How is that going to impact the federal government?
well, it's going to impact the banking system if these numbers hold. It's going to impact the banking system because you've got at some point, okay, you go 30 days late, 60 days late, 90 days late.
Somebody's holding that note.
That's right. And pretty soon you're at 120 days late and 180 days late. And pretty soon the banks have to start writing things off, right? It's not going to take that
Oh,
long. And once you start having, I mean, if those numbers hold, which I doubt that they will, they'll figure something out. But if they hold, it's really going to impact the banking system. It's a problem. Okay, next item that she mentioned was the Paycheck Protection Program and they're kind of combined, and the employer retention credit. And in July, this past 2 months ago, the employer retention credit was sitting at $30 billion. This past month, it dropped to $17 billion, and it's going to end in October. So that's some pretty big money coming out of the pockets of those that are getting paid on basically employers getting paid for the employer retention credit. So that's an issue.
So that's ending.
That's ending. That's right. And then finally, she was mentioning that we have the budget negotiations coming up in October. So you have which could become quite volatile because now we're getting into the political season and all that kind of gunk. So you put all that together with the background of employment starting to decline. We kind of laugh about, oh, speak of the devil. Anyway, we kind of laugh about the, interest rates are going to come down at some point. It's sort of like waiting for Godot, right? I mean, it's been like a movie scene where rates are coming down, they're coming down, and they never come down, right? Godot never shows up. But there are some fundamental reasons to think that the economy actually is slowing and that we're going to begin to see lower interest rates. And if you take a look at, the inflation numbers, I think here's a thing called true inflation. Let me see if I can find this slide. And there's this thing called trueflation. And that really does show that inflation is kind of under control at this point, right? It's not.
I'm trying to figure out where we're at. Okay, so
we're at the far right.
So September was 10%. Oh, it looks to me like we're really under control.
Yeah. Yeah. So you combine the fact that inflation is under control. And what this is, by the way, this trueflation, they take like 10 million data points and they just put it on, and they get all these data points. They go into the computer and they calculate this on a daily basis, right? So it's pretty cool stuff. It's at www.trueflation.com. And it does show pretty clear that inflation is pretty much under control, right? Not a huge deal like it has been in the past. So when you
would think after that, as much as they've raised interest rates over the past year and a half, you would think that we would start to see some data indicating that there is, some softening in the economy. See, I use the word softening for the economy too, just like real estate.
But they're kind of going hand in hand because, what we were looking at 3 or 4 months ago, let's say in May or early June or something like that, was a really tight market, and now it's still an attractive market, but it's softening just a smidge, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we're seeing in the economy, and in the labor market, we're actually seeing it soften more than just a smidge. We're starting to see, and September is going to be an issue because they have, I don't know how familiar you are with this, but they have these things called WARN notices, WARN, WARN notices. So if you're a big company, you employ basically 100 people, you have to submit to the government that you're going to be laying off 100 people or however many you're going to be. Okay. So, and it takes time for that to work its way through the system. And that is basically going to start hitting in September and October, all of the WARN notices that we've seen for the
So
last.
do we know how many WARN notices there are?
Well, we know there's a big one with Yellow Freight, right? Yellow, the trucking company, and that I think was like 30,000 people. But you've got, and so in some cases it's not a big deal, and in some cases it is a big deal. And but on net, you can see that there is, if you combine that with the ending of the employer retention credit, you could make an argument for a lot of companies have not fired their employees because they've been getting this employer retention credit, which is now going away.
Oh, right. So,
So
I heard that Chateau Ste. Michelle only purchased 40% of the grapes this past year than they had in previous years, and that now we have wineries in our vineyards in Eastern Washington going bankrupt. That's a pretty crazy, that. And so that's how I think that we're going to start to see the impact of these increasing interest rates. I think it's going to start showing up in places like that. And so that's going to have a wide reaching impact because those people that worked at those vineyards now are unemployed.
That's right. So, and it's also going to start showing up like really soon before the end of the year. Okay. In the commercial real estate market. So you're going to start seeing some.
We have a lot of empty office spaces, don't we, in the Seattle area? And I know I read something about New York as well. I feel like that's eventually going to have an impact. I mean, as we're building skyrises, our high rises in Bellevue as we speak, there's all this additional office and commercial space being added to the area, including, the plant up in Marysville and Arlington. I mean, there's just so much commercial space being built, actively being built. So
there is.
I hope there's somebody to occupy those units.
Well, before, so I'm pretty much done with that little segment. So I just want to mention that there is hope on the way for lower interest rates. Now, I could end up with egg on my face again. Won't be the first time, but there are some legitimate reasons for it to pass. Now, for interest rates to start coming down, some fundamental reasons.
So I got to tell you, my concern is this, because I keep hearing this, right? So we keep talking about, interest rates potentially
coming down.
Coming down.
Yeah.
And I have to, well, it's not even just that. If interest rates come down significantly, there's a couple things that are going to happen. I don't believe that housing prices are going to come down very far this year. So we've come back from our highs from, early summer or late spring. We've come back down from 21% in Snohomish County, for instance, down to 12% as far as appreciation for the year so far. I think we're still going to lose another 6% or 7% by the end of the year. But I think that's going to be from a traditional slowdown due to fall, into winter. I think that's what's going to be driving that. And so just by the fact that it's no longer summer, we have fewer buyers out there. We certainly have fewer sellers. So, but with the interest rates continuing to go up, and we've seen a little bit of a tick back recently, but interest rates are still solidly over 7% for the most part. And with the Fed still threatening to increase again, I just don't see, housing prices coming down that much. So if in fact we saw a softening of interest rates down below 6.5, I would think that would open up a bit more buyer pool. And people would go, okay, I'm off the fence. Let's jump back in, because January is, I don't know how many people are aware that the real estate market takes off in January, like a rocket ship. But I try to tell people, I wish you guys would listen to me. Don't wait till January to buy a house. If there's one out there in October, November, December, call me, because we'll get you a good deal.
That's where you get your best deals, right? That's absolutely true.
It's that time of year typically. You're going to be able to negotiate. People have sat on the market especially if they've been on since summer. They've already done some price reductions, more than likely, very motivated to get under contract, worried about going into the next year with now a couple 100 days on the market. So people are usually very motivated in November, December, because they know it's not the time to be on the market. And so you can usually negotiate a little bit better pricing for your buyers. We can get maybe 2-1 buy downs, maybe a little bit off the price. Certainly get an inspection if it's been on the market for more than 7 or 10 days. So it can, last year I got some people into some great houses in the fall last year and winter. It was amazing. Up until
beautiful thing.
Up until January.
Well,
and then everybody who bought in the fall last year, they all have appreciation now. And let's face it, if you bought a $900,000 house, let's just say, and the market's up 12%, and that's just since December, so
you're up $100,000. That's
90.
Not bad.
That's $100,000. That's $100,000, you guys, and you didn't have to work for it.
That's not bad.
I love that little thing called appreciation.
It works.
Think about that.
It works.
It works.
I put your email address up because in case people wanted to get in touch with you, because you send out this StatsByKat, if they're looking to buy a house, right? The stuff that you send out, or looking to sell, yes, that's right. These are the stats that you really need to know, because you need to know, not just at the end of the month and maybe stats that are 6 weeks old that you'll get fined in like calculated risk or something like that. And they do a great job.
Who cares about what happened last year? If you're selling your house in September of 2023,
you want to know right now.
Last year,
That's right.
So, and who cares what the Seattle Times says? Because the Seattle Times doesn't often have the most up-to-date information regarding the real estate market in Western Washington. I often, take
the StatsByKat.
What they publish.
you update that every week, and it goes out, and it's the most up-to-date statistics on the market. Period. And no BS. That's absolutely the truth.
Yep, StatsByKat goes out every week, usually before Friday. This week I lost internet connection for 2 days.
But that has been solved.
I gotta tell you, that put a crimp in my style. There was so much effort trying to figure out what modem I needed to actually get my internet to work again. It shouldn't have been that hard. I talked to a Xfinity guy and came out to my house. I thought I had it all dialed in. No. Anyway, so we got it up and running again though, and we've got faster internet. We probably have better videos. And my stats will be easier because there won't be any delays with the because I got such high speed now.
Well, I just wanted to throw that out there because it's really, really great information. And
thank you.
If you are in the market, it's great to have that information at your finger in your email box, because
it's fun for me to put together, because 1 week I'll do Snohomish County, the next week I'll do King County, and everybody gets all of them, right? So if you live in Mason County, I'm probably emailing you Snohomish and King County stats, but if you ever call me, I can always relate that to Mason County stats or Skagit County, whatever county you're in. And I also could dial that data down to a much smaller pool. So let's say I had a house in Woodinville that I was preparing for market, or helping sellers get prepared for market. And I thought, well, they're in North Shore School District, so we should probably just pull the data for North Shore School District in their price range. And so I was able to get very, very accurate information as to what they could expect for market time. And it was amazing, because no one has that information. I've never heard anyone else talk about it. So, and I could also see what homes we're selling for and how many we're getting multiple offers. And of course, I can talk to the listing agents, and most listing agents will tell me what they've got, and even off the record if they haven't closed yet, so that I can let my sellers know what is actually happening in real time. So for instance, a house that's similar in size and price went pending this past 7 days, and my clients are getting ready to go on the market this week. So I call that listing agent. I say, hey, I see you went pending on Monday. You know, what was the traffic like on your open house over the weekend? How many people came through? How many people said they were going to write offers, and how many wrote offers? And, you know, how did that offer review go? Did you have, you know, people waiving their financing? Did you have cash buyers? Did you have people with that had fully underwritten loan approvals? Because that's a thing, and that beats out a pre-approval all day long. We love people that are fully underwritten as listing agents, because we know they're just about the same as cash. So I make those phone calls, and listing agents will almost always respond to me. I've been in the business a long time. I have good relationships with other agents and other brokers in the area. And I can really put together a really solid picture of what the traffic is going to look like in their home. So when we list it that week. So this is last minute. This is up to the last minute information. You have to, you know, as a good broker in Washington, you have to make those phone calls. You have to find out what that activity has been like in your neck of the woods.
Yep.
So anyway, I think I do a good job.
I think you do a fantastic job, and
I've got a lot of years behind me, Dan, you know, kind of honing my craft, you know, but I think the last couple of years I really dived deep into the stats, and I love it because I've always liked statistics. And this is a way for me to get them out there to people that matter to me, my clients, my buyers, my sellers, my potential buyers, my potential sellers, and anyone who's interested in the industry. So I have brokers that actually ask me to include them on my list, so that they get my emails as well. So I have other real estate brokers, and even in my own office, that are actually on my email list for my StatsByKat. So that makes me feel good. You know?
Cool. Well, it's
fellow brokers appreciating the work that you do, because it is a lot of work to do this every single week. Because I also, not only do I have, you know, the most recent stats, but I also post a story either about what's happened in my career the previous week, or a topic. Like this week we talked about the importance of sewer scopes, and you know, sewer scopes and home inspections, right?
Right.
But I like to change the topic every week and kind of add some more value to that email that goes out. So if anybody wants to sign up for that, just shoot me an email or text or DM me, and I'd be happy to get you on my list. It's just fun information, you know, no expectation from me. You just get it, you know? So, and if you ever have a real estate question, you know, you got somebody to call.
Well, I wanted to give that a shout out because it's just such fantastic information. So
thank you, Dan.
If y'all want it, I put Kat's email address up on the screen, and you know, feel free to get in touch.
Oh, and it's right too, by the way. I just looked.
Well, that's good. I'm glad I got the right email address up there. Good.
Excellent. All right. Good work, Dan.
Very good. Very good.
Well, and Dan, by the way, Dan is with Nexa Mortgage, but he's a broker, so he has access to a lot of different loan programs that not every lender has access to. And he's been able to provide my clients with excellent interest rates and good loan programs that work for them. And I have to tell you, I have some very happy clients because of this guy, Dan Mellis. So Nexa Mortgage.
We do our best. Shout out to
Dan as well.
We try. So thanks.
I know, Kat. It's embarrassing, right?
Thanks.
But you know what? I like what we're doing. I like that we're putting together these videos and making the effort to go live, trying to get the information out there to the public. Yeah, we don't have the biggest following in the world. You know, it's a slow grow, but I think we're providing solid, helpful, useful information to the general public that they don't normally have access to. Right. So, you know,
I think it's
It's
a
good.
good format. I think we're doing good.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
doing good work. So
Yes.
on that note, shall we wrap her up?
Let's wrap her up, Dan.
Okay.
Let's
Thanks,
call
Kat.
it. Hey, Dan, let's call it a day.
Let's call it a day. It's 5:00 somewhere.
It's 5:00 somewhere. Yes.
It's
Okay.
almost 5:00 here.
It is almost 5:00 here. Gonna be happy hour soon. Just saying.
I might cheat on that 5:00 somewhere just a little bit. I
I
might
don't
cheat.
blame you. Okay,
Kat,
TikTokers, I'm
thanks
signing off.
again.
Thank you guys for joining me every week around on well, it's not Tuesday today, but usually we try to do these on Tuesday in the afternoon between 2 and 4 we start, and we'll go for an hour and a half and talk about all the latest, greatest real estate stats and see what Dan has to say about the interest rates and where they're headed next. It's always good for a good laugh. No, I'm kidding.
Always good for a chuckle.
Okay, bye guys. Okay, I'm signing off TikTok. Whoops, I don't mean to send it.
Okay, I'm gonna end the broadcast. So
Okay,
we
and
will...
now, okay.
Hang on.
All right.
Don't leave the room because they gotta download the thing. So
I'm
hang
not
on just a
leaving the
second.
room. I haven't left
Okay.
anything.